The history of any monastic community will be the history of a place, chosen, cultivated, hallowed, and fashioned by the community. The history of Mount Angel Abbey is tied closely with its mother house, Engelberg Abbey in Switzerland, a community founded in the year 1120 by Blessed Conrad, Count of Zeldenburen. For nearly 9 centuries, Engelberg Abbey has endured, sometimes prospering, other times reduced to a remnant. But in the late 1800s, after a number of Swiss religious communities had been suppressed, it was not certain that the monastery would be spared. It was in response to this threat that Engelberg set its sights on America with the purpose of establishing a safe refuge in a free land. After founding Conception Abbey in Missouri in 1873, Abbot Anselm Villiger sent Father Adelhelm Odermatt and Father Nicholas Fry westward in search of a second site. Their travels eventually led them to Oregon and the hilltop overlooking the farmlands that were home to many German immigrants. The future site of Mount Angel Abbey. After receiving his abbot's blessing, Father Adelhelm returned to Oregon on October 28, 1882, with 27 companions. During construction of the monastery, the monks lived in the priory of the nearby town of Jervis, and on November 13, 1882, they began praying the Divine Office, a practice which has been maintained to this day. In the summer of 1884, the monks moved into their new home, and the history of Mount Angel Abbey officially began. They started to farm, and the priests served the Catholics in Jervis, Mount Angel, and Sublimity. The community thrived, and in 1887 they issued a prospectus for Mount Angel College. The school grew rapidly, and in 1889, at the urging of Archbishop William H. Gross, the monks decided to open minor and major seminary divisions. On May 3, 1892, the steady growth of the young monastery came to a halt when the priory roof caught fire. The following day found the priory, chapel, seminary wing, and workshop smoking ruins. Of the buildings of this era, only one remains, the small cemetery chapel standing directly across from the tombstone of Father Adelhelm Odermatt, whose persistence, vision, and hard work led to the foundation of Mount Angel Abbey. After the disastrous fire of 1892, the priory had incurred huge debts. Undaunted, Prior Adelhelm traveled to the eastern United States, where he remained for over 5 years, seeking the funds to rebuild. After a series of successful fundraising efforts, the monks of Mount Angel rebuilt their monastery, and the work and prayer of the community continued. In 1902, Mount Angel entered the Swiss American Federation of Monasteries, and on March 24, 1904, Pope Pius X made Mount Angel an independent abbey with Father Thomas Mayenhofer as the first abbot. The years that followed included missionary activities among the Indians, spiritual retreats, and a gradual concentration of the abbey's educational efforts towards high school, college, and theology. Although the school accelerated the transition from German to English, the abbey did publish a weekly German-language newspaper, the St. Joseph's Blatt, for over 70 years. But on the night of September 20th, 1926, tragedy struck Mount Angel once again, as the entire abbey and school complex burned to the ground. The unthinkable had happened for a second time, and the monastic community was thrust into a new era of rebuilding.
Mount Angel Abbey has had its share of trials in life, and one thing that we're known for is our fires. In the late 1800s, our first monastery burned down. There are interesting accounts of people going into the building and throwing out books and pews and everything they could salvage from it, but it did burn to the ground. It was reconstructed a few years later in a different location with the stone building, but it too burned down. Apparently it was started by a fire in an automobile that was in the building, and the person on site didn't know how to drive to get it out. So it too burned to the ground. And the third monastery, the existing one, was built shortly after that.
The monks began work in the spring of 1927, and after a series of trials as well as the generosity of many benefactors, the abbey was rebuilt once more, this time of concrete with brick facing, and in a design which limited fire danger as much as possible. The years that followed saw the construction of a variety of new buildings, including an auditorium used for many events, such as an annual Bach festival, a guest house which hosts retreats on a regular basis, and a library designed by the famous architect Alvar Aalto. More recently, the Abbey has added a new theological building to its thriving seminary and made a major renovation of the hilltop, including a new bell tower. Mount Angel is also the mother house of 3 monasteries: Westminster Abbey in British Columbia, Monastery of the Ascension in southern Idaho, and Our Lady of the Angels in Mexico. Through trials and hardship, faith and determination, the Benedictine community of Mount Angel Abbey continues to persevere as it strives to stay true to its original mission of prayer and work in service of Christ's holy church.